Welcome to the Power Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Maggie Bio. Join me as we uncover how setbacks, challenges, and failures can become those pivotal moments that lead to purpose-driven, fulfilled lives. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing stories, insights, and tools to help you reclaim your power and show you how life's biggest challenges are happening for us, not to break us, but to redirect us toward the life we deeply desire. Whether you're here for inspiration, mindset shifts, or just to feel more aligned in your journey, you are in the right place. So whether you're catching a break, powering through, or squeezing in some me time, let's dive into the lessons hidden in life's ups and downs. We're here to embrace every unexpected twist, moving toward a life of passion, purpose, and authenticity. These stories, they are proof that you too can make those shifts happen. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Power Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Maggie Bio, and in today's solo episode, we are going to dive deep into how I decided to reclaim my life, rewrite my story, and step into the best version of myself. Now, I will tell you, the best version of myself is a daily practice. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So let's go back in time just a little bit, because it was just about 5 years ago when I literally had to wake myself up and say, enough was enough. So in this episode, I'm going to talk all about how you can make the one decision to completely change your life. You can literally go from losing everything to starting over and rewriting the story the way that it feels most authentic and aligned to yourself. So I actually was just on a podcast episode that was a 1-minute episode. And this exact question was asked, and I had to answer it in 60 seconds. And so it just triggered me to think, why not dive a little bit deeper into the why, the how, the feelings, the emotions? Because I know that a lot of us have had that time in our life where we say, enough is enough. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am ready for change. I want change. I just don't know how to do it. And so I'm here to tell you that there is no magic potion. There is no magic pill. There is no, step out and just figure it all out. And that's where the beauty is. So I want to talk about this. And when I said it in 60 seconds, it was all about trust. Most oftentimes, we don't have trust when we're in a position where we're like, I am so sick and tired, right? We don't have trust. We don't have strength. We don't have courage. We don't have a whole lot of confidence. It's kind of just been stripped away. So what I want to talk about today is how I went from losing absolutely everything to reclaiming everything that was absolutely meant for me, and now having such a purpose-driven, passion-filled life doing what I absolutely love doing. So about 5 years ago was that pivotal moment for me, the power shift moment when I said to myself, I am done. I'm done. And I woke up and it was just a regular day, just like everybody does, right? We wake up, we start to feel the feelings. We don't know for sure what we're doing. We're having all the things, right? And so it was just a normal day. It was actually a couple of days before my, I think, 35th birthday. And I just said, I cannot do this anymore. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust the unknown for sure, because I had no idea what it even looked like. And so I woke up and I thought to myself, what if I stay here? What if I do trust the unknown and I take the first step? And the answer was blaring. It was one of those days where it was like, you have to make the step. You have to make the move. No matter how much you are afraid, no matter how much you don't trust, no matter how much you have no strength, courage, all of those things, you have to. It was almost like this knock over the head where it said, if you don't, you will stay here, stuck, unfulfilled, terrible situation, toxic environment for the rest of your life. And if you take the courageous first step today, all of the things. Everything's going to look clearer. Everything's going to feel better. And all the things are just going to truly fall into place. And so I want to talk about that. That was that moment of my life where I had that feeling of if I stayed, it would just continue. I would literally wake up every day in the same position, the same mindset, the same attitude, the beat down, the broken, the belittled, the feeling as if I wasn't surviving. I was literally just moving through day-to-day motions. So if you are sitting here going, okay, I've had those feelings, you're not alone. And I want you to understand that those feelings are normal and you have to feel into those feelings. You have to become aware of those feelings. And I talk about aware all the time. And then in my life, I had no awareness. So once you can start to feel it and you can see it and you can work through it, you're going to become more aware. Okay. So it's not something that just like happens overnight. Trust me, it took me probably a good 7 to 8 months becoming more aware of what it was that I truly was feeling and how I was acting and what I was allowing to then be able to make that step. So it doesn't just click. It's not just like we turn on the light switches or we turn off the light switches. You have to give yourself some time, some grace, and some compassion as you're trusting yourself enough, even if you have no trust. As you're doing that, you have to step into that. And so I started to say to myself, okay, I need different. I want different. And it took me to say, I'm done. I'm done. Now, I had a lot to lose. And I mean a lot to lose. I had built a successful fitness business. I had built a life with stepchildren. I felt as if I had a partner that I was building something with. So I literally had to say to myself, I can either stay here in this unfulfilling, loveless relationship, or I can trust the unknown that is right here in front of me because nobody really truly knows what's on the other side of the steps, right? We just have to take them. And so for me, it was one of those things where I said to myself, I'm gonna try to trust me to say, I'm moving forward. I need something different. And so in that part of my life, I truly just had to say, I am okay losing everything that I've built to try something new. Now, I don't want you to think that in your situation, in your story, you have to completely rewrite your entire story, but you do have to figure out the parts and the pieces that don't align with you anymore. And so for me, I had things that aligned with what I loved and wanted, but I also knew that my identity was there. And I felt like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have anything in my life. And that couldn't be further than the truth. So I am my own person. I am the person who showed up to that situation and I created this identity. But you're able to, I don't want to say you wipe your identity away, but you can move away from what you thought was where you wanted to be to reconnect and realign with what really truly lights your soul on fire. I had so many days where I felt like, this is it, this is so good. And then I had so many days that actually outweighed those other days. And so that's when you have to start becoming more aware. So the why is I was living in the shadows. I was living to create something for someone else. I was being lied to, manipulated, cheated on. I had all these things that were happening in my life that were trying to tell me it is time. It's time. It's time for you. So I want you to think about that in your story. Doesn't mean that you had to be cheated on, manipulated, lied to, all those things. Your story is yours and it's uniquely yours. So you have to figure out what in your life, though, has felt this way, has felt as if you are being cheated or you're not living to your potential or those kinds of things. And so start to think of that. And so that was really my why. My why was that. And so how I did it was I took the first step. Now, the first step is the hardest step, but is actually the most courageous step. And it's the one that is going to build the most strength as you start moving into this new version of yourself. this new, more confident, more power, more fulfilled, all the things in your life, that first step, it's like the first step is the deepest. The first cut is the deepest. Things like that. Those are the things you have to do. It isn't about, well, what about what's going to happen over here? And if I do this and then I step to the left and then I step to the right and then I step backwards and then forwards, what's going to happen? Nobody knows. So the why to then the how has to be, how do I just go? How do I just move forward? How do I step into this new life that I want to create? And so it really is one step in front of the other. Now, remind yourself, it could feel like a little bit of a dance at first. It could feel like you're taking 10 steps forward to take 2 steps back. You could take 2 to the side, to this side, to the right, and you're trying to figure it out. It's going to feel wobbly. It's going to feel weird because it's different. And so a lot of times when things feel different or hard, I am so guilty of this. We tend to say, nah, I don't think it's worth it. But I'm here to tell you that if you push past those moments, that's when you fly. That's when you soar. That's when that leap of faith, the trusting of the unknown, just becomes so much easier. Because truly, you can sit and say, in this life that you're living, it's so unknown. Everything is unknown. No one knows what is happening next. It's the actions that we take, the decisions that we make that kind of dictate that, but we still don't know what the final outcome is going to be. So instead of staying stuck and unfulfilled in this relationship where I felt as if I was dying slowly, I had to say, I'm taking the step. I want to see how it will feel to not live this way. And when I say that, I'm telling you, it is that simple. It's to feel the feeling of, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to feel these feelings anymore. Who wants to feel stuck and unfulfilled and sad and beat down and broken and no confidence, no self-worth? Who wants to live like that? Nobody. And so I want you to think, if you are living that way, you have got to start figuring out how to lose something or lose everything and start completely over. Start completely over. It's like we talk about that sometimes. It's like we write in pen and that seems forever. But even if it's pen, scratch it out and write on a new line. Something for you is telling you that you are unfulfilled and you're not feeling where you're supposed to be and you're not aligned and your life just doesn't feel like it's magical. There's got to be something that you can switch. You can change. You can trust yourself enough to say, I don't want this anymore. I want the change. I want to step into a new version of myself. And I'm here to tell you that it is scary. It is frustrating. It is one of those things. I'm almost like trying to figure out another word. It's one of those words where you're just, it's unpredictable. But so is the chaotic situation that you might be living in, or the work environment that you're working in, or the relationship that you have with friends or family or something else. And so when you have that desire to say, I don't want this anymore, it's about trusting yourself enough to say, I'm willing to try something else on. I'm willing to move forward in a totally different direction and see how that feels. Because I'm here to tell you, when I first took that step, so we've talked about the why and the how. Now let's talk about, like, when I did those things, it didn't feel perfect. It didn't. Nothing in life is perfect. And if you want perfect, then I can't help you. I'm going to tell you, I have done so many things in my life where I thought, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be perfect. I'm not going to fail. Things are going to be so good. And I'm here to tell you that those are the times that you actually have to embrace. You have to embrace the times where you think, okay, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to start making those steps, and then watch yourself as you might trip. Maybe you trip over that shoelace. Maybe you trip over that opportunity. Maybe you trip over the person that's trying to say, hey, over here. And realize that you have to make these steps Because if you don't, nothing is going to change. And I told myself that for a decade. Oh, it'll be okay. It'll change. Things will get better. I will feel better. Life will get better. My situation will feel better. And I'm here to tell you that if you have said that at least once, twice, or three times, it's time to change. It's time to make the change. Something inside of you has to change for something to change outside of you. And you have to say, I trust myself enough to completely start over. Start from scratch. Start from scratch. When in your life have you said, I'm going to start from scratch? Probably never. And it's really scary. And it's really one of those things where you just tend to shy away from it because you just don't know. But I'm here to tell you that the move that I made, that first step, that most courageous step, was the most life-changing step of my entire life. My entire life. You think you know until you don't, right? And so I'm here to say that if you've ever had those feelings inside of you where you're saying, I am stuck, I am unfulfilled, I am sad, I am emotional, I am almost like living this life that you think is normal, it's not. And I hate to break it to you, there is a life outside of chaos. There is a life outside of toxicity. There is a life outside of the rat race. And I'm here to tell you that although I still have moments in my life that feel a little funky, that feel like I'm kind of tripping over my shoelaces and I'm not sure where my next step is, it's so much more rewarding when you're aligned with yourself. When you love yourself enough and you trust yourself enough and you have the courage to make the step, to take the leap of faith, to say, you know what? I want different out of my life. I want it. When was the last time that you truly sat with yourself and said, do I feel good? Am I aligned? Is all the things in my life feeling really good? Or is there spots in my life that I need to get rid of? And think about that. I'm going to pause because you really have to think about it. There were so many times in my life where I knew there was so many things I needed to switch, but I wasn't really sure where to start. I wasn't sure where to begin. I wasn't sure how to do it. So just listen to this episode and understand that no one really truly does, but that's where the beauty lies. The beauty is in the chaos. The beauty is in the redirect. The beauty is in that pivotal moment where you truly say to yourself, I am done. I'm done. I'm done living this way. I'm done feeling this way. I'm done creating a life that is not fulfilling. And then what do you have to do? You have to make the first step. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to stay right where you are. And take it from me, I stayed right where I was for almost a decade. A decade. That is 10 years of feeling as if I had those feelings. So if you can relate to me and you have had these feelings for far too long, it's time to trust yourself. It's time to trust the unknown. It's time to say to yourself, I'm ready. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know the complete roadmap. I don't have it all figured out, but I am ready. I am ready. I am ready to start living with passion and purpose and fulfillment in my life. I'm ready to wake up each day knowing that I had the courage to say no more, no more. Because if you look around and you see, and we can tend to do this through Instagram and all the things, social media, we say, wow, look at her life. I want her life. I want his life. I want this. I want all these things. You can have those things. You too can have those things. And I just want you to remind yourself, those are the highlight reels anyway. So sometimes you're looking at the highlights and you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But you have to remind yourself those highlights can happen in your life too. They are truly right on the other side of that first most courageous step. And so I want to just tell you to kind of tie this all in together and to leave you with a little bit of inspiration and some sort of a tip about getting started and going from losing it all or wiping it all away and starting completely over. Is basically you have to just trust. You have to trust that universe, God, divine is helping you to get to the path that is most lit up, most inspiring, most passion-filled, most aligned, most authentic to your best version. So I want you to remind yourself through the beauty, through the chaos, through the toxicity, through all of the things that are put into our life, we have to trust ourselves enough to know that the unknown is always going to be there. It's always going to be fearful. It's always going to throw us loops. But if you're not going to trust yourself enough to make one step forward or one step to the side to then start moving forward, you will stay stuck and unfulfilled. So I want to leave this episode with you to say, you have to trust yourself and you have to take the most courageous first step and step into the next best version of yourself every single day. And I want to leave you with this. You are worthy, you are deserving, and you are more than enough to completely start over, rewrite your story, authentic, aligned, and unapologetic to yourself. Hope you had a great time listening to this episode. I hope you got some moments of clarity, some moments of wisdom, because that is what this episode was about, is having to see how I went from completely starting over, losing absolutely everything that I had ever worked hard for over a decade, to completely rewrite my story, authentic and aligned to myself. So have a great one. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to The Power Shift. I hope today's episode inspired you to see setbacks as stepping stones and embrace the beauty in the chaos. Real growth happens when we align with our true selves and live unapologetically. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps more incredible people like you discover the show. Until next time, keep making those power shifts and step boldly into the life that's authentically yours.